Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, Ashley Barron. How's it going today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It is a Monday, so I'm excited. It's fresh week, get to kind of jump into everything, and it's the start of football season, so I'm extra happy right now. So
Yes, you and my boyfriend both.
nice. But excited to have you here. You're currently in Nashville. How's everything been going in Nashville for you?
Yeah, it's been great. We are off the road right now and we've been having a couple shows here locally, so it's been really fun.
Nice. How long have you been off the road?
Just a couple weeks actually. Yeah, we had some shows earlier in July and this summer's kind of been a slower summer for us, which honestly I don't mind since we've been working on a lot of other stuff, so it's been really good.
Nice, nice. And how often are you like when you're on the road? How often are you like on the road like for weeks, months at a time, or you just kind of go out for like short runs?
This summer has just been short runs, but
Mhm.
I've been on tour for the last 3 years. So last
Nice.
summer, we were on the road for months at a time, and that can get draining.
Yeah,
So it's nice to take it a little bit slower.
fair. I followed a band once for like a week, and I was like, I'm dead tired. I don't know how you guys do this for anything more than a week. So,
Yeah, yeah.
well, and it was also because I was driving myself, so
Oh yeah,
it's yeah, it was a whole thing.
yeah.
But excited to have you on. You're originally from Northern California. What was it like growing up there? Was music kind of always around, or that kind of come later?
Oh yeah, music was huge. My family is really big into music. My siblings, my parents, I grew up, my grandparents, I grew up on everything, every type of music. My sisters were huge, with some kind of like reggae, indie stuff. My parents loved early the 90s, early 2000s, and then my father loved rock and roll. So I had a great mix and we went to a lot of live shows. We had great venues, so it was a good time.
Nice. It's so is that kind of where your influence comes from musically? Do you find yourself pulling from a lot of that, or do you
Yeah.
find more modern the stuff you're listening to like currently is more where you're pulling from?
No, I mean, honestly, it really is a lot of the old school stuff and what I was raised on, a lot of that. Also, I mean, like I said, it was a lot of country and it was a lot of rock and roll, but
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, when I had my emo girl phase, I loved Avril Lavigne and punk rock was huge, huge in California too.
Yeah.
So a lot of that comes out, and the older I get, the more I find myself pulling from different, genres I listen to, not realizing like, oh, it wasn't just country, it was all of these things.
Mhm.
So it definitely inspires a lot of my sound.
Fair. I was going to say, if you in the early 2000s to the early 2010s, if you didn't go through some sort of punk rock emo phase, I don't know if you were really living at that point.
Right?
It,
That's so funny. I was just at lunch the other day with my boyfriend and his sister, and I forget I don't even remember how it got brought up, but they looked at me and I was like, "What? You guys never had your emo phase?" And they were like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, they're from the East Coast. I'm from the West. We definitely all went through our emo phase."
fair. Yeah. Well, I'm from Chicago originally. It was a lot of Good Charlotte, like all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And it's just kind of like, I just remember those phases. And it's like, okay, it's behind us now. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but no, that's really cool. And then at what point did you kind of discover your love for music? Did you start singing first, playing? Where did that kind of come into play?
Well, like I said, I have older siblings. I'm the youngest of four. And so growing up, I kind of always wanted to be involved with them. And so I would come up with little dance routines or singing songs and run into their bedroom and be like, listen to me. And my mom would force them to listen to me. And so my mom, I think, saw at a very young age that I had this spirit that wanted to perform and wanted to, kind of show off. And so she got me involved in a lot of different things, choir being one of them, violin. And finally, it was kind of in high school when I really started to take it seriously of like Oh, I love to sing. And I found a really amazing vocal coach that helped me kind of find my voice. And that's really where everything started.
Nice. And so it was kind of like the benefit of having those. I don't want to necessarily call them school sponsored programs, but that's kind of what comes to mind when you say like choir and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um, but it like that's the cool thing about all that stuff is it gives you the opportunity to explore these avenues without having to like shell out hundreds and thousands of dollars just to like experiment pretty
yeah.
much. And so like I mean that's really cool. That because I know a lot of schools nowadays don't have that stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm a big advocate for all that stuff. Kids need an expressive outlet, to just see what they love, see what, could be out there besides just academics, because there are some people like myself who don't do too well in academics. And so it really was the extracurricular for me that I thrived.
oh, same boat. Took me 7 years to graduate college. So
Yeah. Hey, at least you did. I dropped out, still never went back. So,
the the only reason that I went to college and was so determined to graduate because my dad made me a wager that I couldn't graduate. And so I was just like, or that I wouldn't, like whatever it was. And so it was like, you
yeah,
know what? Screw it. I'm going. Here we
yeah,
go. So
gotta prove them wrong.
yep, proving him wrong. And he knew what he was doing all along. And
Yeah,
nowadays it's just like, oh, there's a whole bunch of money that I'll never see again. But it is
yeah,
what it is.
yeah.
So that's cool. And then so from there, from North Carolina, did you move directly to Nashville, or how did that kind of transition happen from Northern California, not Carolina,
Yeah,
Northern
Northern
California
California.
to Nashville?
Yeah, honestly, that actually took me quite a bit. Right after high school, I was supposed to go to Arizona for school, and then I ended up staying back because my vocal coach wanted to get back into recording music.
Hmm.
And we knew a guy who had a studio in downtown Sac. And so I started doing that at the same time I was going to school. And I'm very, very, very blessed that I have the most amazing parents in the world that have always supported me and always helped me, and really saw, what I wanted to do, and they pushed me for that, and they were there for me. So I ended up recording an album and got a band together and started performing live and touring up and down California for anybody that would have me, for about 2, 3 years. And it was through that that I became very close with a local radio station, country radio station. And they were like, you got to go to Nashville. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I want to, but I don't know anybody there. I don't know, where do you get started? How do you even do that? And so they took me, one year, they did a big radio thing out here for them. And they were like, come with us, see what it's like. We have some people we can introduce you to. And that was the start of this 8-year process of coming here to Nashville. And I was very blessed again to be able to go back and forth. We had a small place we rented in Nashville, but my whole entire family is still in California, and we're very, very close. And so my parents were cool with the back and forth. And it wasn't until right after 2020 that I was like, I gotta get out. I gotta go to Nashville. That's where I gotta be. And I finally just made the official move and jump. And so now I've been here for three years. I've been living in Tennessee. And I'm so, so thankful and happy. It's been really great.
Nice. And so you came like right after the pandemic.
Yes, yeah,
Nice.
my first ever tour was supposed to happen in 2020, and I was going on the road with, an old school T. Graham Brown, and
Nice.
he was really great. He kept me on. He was like, "Look, I'm pushing all my stuff to next year. If you want the slot, it's still yours." And, at that time, I mean, that was so unheard of. People were so, no one knew what was
Nice.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
And, so come, 2021, I was just like, all our bus stops, everything was coming from here in Nashville. And I was like, going, I can't go back and forth. I need my stuff here. And I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I don't want to come home. And he
Nice.
was like, okay, well, I'm not shipping your stuff. So
Fair.
I still had to go back and forth and grab all that. But yeah, it was the best decision.
Very fair. Very fair. It's T. Graham Brown's really cool. I had him on the podcast. I met him at CRS this year. So Yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I love him. Him and his wife Sheila, she really took me under their wings. And, we at that time were just traveling, following them in a car. We weren't even in a van,
Yeah.
anything like that. And so they were so sweet. Every time I needed to get ready, they were like, use the bus, come shower, do whatever you need. They were really awesome. And it was probably one of the best tours, to really start out and see what road life is like. It was
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. I think a lot of those old school musicians that have been doing it for 30, 40 years, they understand what it's like to be a struggling musician,
Yeah.
to, to kind of take these younger musicians under their wings and I don't want to say cutting him a little bit of a break, like, because he could have very well said, no, you're in the car, you got to
Yeah.
fend for yourself, but
Yeah.
he didn't. So that's um but I think that's kind of cool where the industry is at right now, is like they're building, even though they're oh, been in the business forever, they're still trying to give back to the community.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for us new artists, I mean, just the chance, like you said, like even if he didn't let me be on his bus and was like, "Oh, you're in the car," just the chance to share that stage is really awesome and helps us out a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So you started recording music before you came to Nashville, correct? You were recording
Yeah.
in Northern California.
Yeah.
Um, and that was through your music teacher, or did you end up not
Yeah.
recording with them?
No, that was all through my vocal coach, Bobby Zoppi, and he had a record deal at RCA way back in the day. He was in the kind of 80s rock era,
Yes.
and he was on Quincy Jones' label. And so he still had a lot of connections through that, and that's how we really got the songs. I was not writing songs at that time. I didn't even know how to write a song, what I was gonna do. And so he just went to different publishers, a lot from down in LA, some here in Nashville, got us to send him some demos. And I just went through hundreds of demos and picked out the songs I loved the most. And that was, yeah, my first real experience being in the studio. And gosh, I remember that. That was so fun. Brian Wheat, who is a part of, oh my gosh, I don't know if it's going to come to me. Anyways, old school rock band
Mm,
that was out of California. Anyways, it was his studio. And so
mhm.
all the musicians that played on my country album were rock musicians.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to experience that.
And so that's actually really cool, because it probably gave even though you were doing country music, it probably gave it a pretty cool rock influence sound. Even though they're trying to play country, if they're based in rock, there's some influences that are going to kind of leak over. So
Oh yeah, no, totally, totally. And that's what really helped me live is to find, that's when I started to find my sound, is
mm,
when I then took all those songs and started playing on the road and just up and down California. And then it was a shift coming here to
yeah,
Nashville. I will say that, people talk about, oh, the Nashville scene, they can tell when you didn't record there or all this stuff. And I didn't really understand that until I got here and I was like, oh yeah, there's a Nashville way of doing things, just like
yeah,
there's an LA way of doing
yeah,
things and a New York way of doing things. So it was a whole nother learning curve when I started recording music here in Nashville.
yeah. And just to get clarification off that, you mean the way you conduct yourself in the studio, not necessarily the physical way you record things? Is that kind of what you're getting at, or
No, honestly, I would say a little bit of both.
okay?
There's a little bit of like structural things. There's a little bit of like, the way things are done, the different type of things we use here in Nashville versus other places, the way the mastering's done. I would definitely say there is a little thing you can hear. But yeah, I mean, it was still great. And and too, in the studio, the musicians you worked with, right? California based
Mm.
versus Nashville based, you're gonna find a difference there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that part made sense. I wasn't sure if you were talking about like there was a physical difference in the sound, but from the conversation we've been having, it sounds like there is a little difference there.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's cool. And so then your debut album, at the self-titled Ashley Barron album, that's you recorded that in Nashville, not in
Yes. Yeah.
California.
Yep. Yeah, we recorded that right here in Nashville, actually, just down the street from where I live now. Uh,
Nice.
so that's pretty fun and like kind of full circle. Yeah, we recorded that at Watershed Studio, and that was really awesome.
That's cool. So going through that you said that you were like really able to kind of find your sound when you were recording in California, correct? Like I understood that correct?
Yeah.
What was that kind of process like? Was that a pretty seamless transition for you, like just getting out and playing, and then it's like, okay, the crowd's like responding? What was the process kind of like as you were kind of trying to find your sound?
Yeah, it was more of just like me and the musicians I was playing with. I'd played with a lot of different musicians in California. Um, and just their different type of styles. I started to see the difference. I'm not per se a musician, so just getting exposed to that was definitely a huge, contributor in what I wanted my sound to be.
Hmm. Fair enough. Now, when you made the full transition from California to Nashville, did you find that your sound went through another evolution, or would you say it's pretty consistent from what
Yeah.
it was in California?
No, I definitely say it went through a whole nother transition. And I think that's too just with, getting, older and more mature and more experienced. You're definitely, if as long as you're evolving, I think that that's the best place to be, is always evolving. So yeah, I definitely did when I recorded that self-titled album. I had a lot of influence from my label at the time, a lot of direction from them, and which wasn't bad. It was good. I needed help. I had never done that before. I'd never written before. All the songs on that album, besides two, I wrote. And so it's definitely has that more traditional Nashville country sound, which I love. And then it wasn't until, really starting to perform live with Nashville musicians that I found that I'm like, oh, there's that rock influence again. There's that pop influence again. I love those sounds. And I'm really excited because on our new project, the next album to be released come October, I picked my producer, who is actually my band leader on the road.
Nice.
It's really funny, I got kind of some pushback with that. I think I still get some pushback. But I think it was the best decision in the world. I mean, he knew my sound, knows my sound inside and out. And my biggest passion is performing live. And all I want to do is be able to take that live sound that we create on
Mhm.
stage and bring that to a studio album.
Nice.
So, I know, sorry, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself.
No, you're good. You're going exactly where I wanted to go. So continue.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, yeah, it was, we this go around, like I said, the self-titled album was very traditional. It was we wrote the songs, we got in the studio, and then I performed them live. And I learned a lot in that process. So this next one I started writing, and then I took them to my band leader and said, hey, how could we make this us and perform it? And last summer we started performing almost every song on the album live. And then I looked at him and I was like, oh my gosh, we need to create an album, and you need to be my producer and do this, because he basically did it on the road. So that was our goal. It was, we got to perform these live. We knew what they sounded like. We knew what we wanted, what the fans wanted. And so we took that into the studio, which is a little different. So
Nice. That's really cool. It's almost like you're wanting to, or not almost like you're taking what you create live and giving it, because I know like when you go into record studio, it's not always what you can recreate live. And
yeah.
that's the one thing that kind of has a tendency to get under my skin a little bit when I listen to an album and I hear musicians one way, and then I go see them at a live show and it sounds nothing like their album. And so I love the fact that you're kind of leaning in to, okay, we can do this at a show. Let's make sure this is represented on the album. So I love that. So
Yeah, totally. And like I said, I mean, that was the biggest decision, deciding factor in choosing my producer. I've said it a million times, my biggest passion is performing live. I
mhm.
love being in front of fans. I love, letting them have a good time and forget their worries and really just immerse themselves in the music. And I was like, I know there's a way we can capture this, And it was definitely that, performing them live first and then going into the studio. So I hope that with this next album, that's what people hear.
Yeah, nice, nice. So, "Crying in the Bar" was the most recent single for that, but is "Betrayed" is the lead single, or is "Crying in a Bar" the lead
No,
single?
Betrayed was the lead single.
Okay.
And that was definitely, I mean, we've performed that song a million times over. And I love it, and the fans love it. It's definitely an anthem song. And then with Crying in a Bar, we really took that. I wrote it in a very pop element way.
Mm,
And when we were going to do the album, we were like, that doesn't really fit. So we totally, deconstructed it and made it new again and brought it this kind of like twangy country sound.
mm.
And that's really how that came to life with Crying in a Bar. But it's one of my favorite to sing. I was in the studio like doing the waltz, trying to get in the rhythm with it. It's fun, and I think that people also really enjoy that live.
Nice. Now, when you're recording these songs, are you actually like trying to record them as live as possible, or are you going in like instrument by instrument?
This album we did pretty much instrument by instrument.
Okay.
We did that specifically just to capture all the elements that we do live,
Hmm.
and make sure that sound was there.
Yeah.
And again, my producer was just so spot on of bringing those together to have that more live aspect
Yeah.
without recording live.
Nice. I was just kind of curious since we were talking about the live aspect of everything.
Yeah.
I was like, wonder if they recorded it live then, you know.
Yeah.
But then I had a buddy, they did their debut album live, except they were so loud that they had to go in and redo the vocal tracks like again.
Yeah.
And it's like that's crazy funny how that one kind of plays out because they were like the studio they were in was so small that the bleed over was so bad that you can't hear them anyways. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but oh no, that's cool. So you said October for the release of the album?
Yes. Early October. I'm very, very excited.
Nice. Now, will there be another single on the way, or is that still kind of up in the air?
We are gonna have a couple more singles. Actually, we're kind of just like flooding the fans with music,
Nice.
honestly. I want them to get a feel for what the album's really gonna be like as a whole. So look out next month for our next single.
Nice. Now, are these all not to give anything away, but are these all songs that people have heard play out a whole bunch, or are they
Uh, the next
not
one, the next
not
one,
necessarily?
not so much.
Okay, gotcha.
We didn't perform that one as much as the rest of them, but we definitely have performed it live.
Mm,
Same with the single after that. The single after that, people have heard quite a few times.
okay,
So
gotcha. I was just kind of curious because it's like when you don't have the announcement ready to go, it's like, okay, I know a question I can ask,
yeah.
so just
Oh,
to
no,
kind of
no,
get
no.
the
Yeah, yeah. We're
um
here.
nice. And so you've been working on this album pretty much all year and into last year. Yeah, I think you said right.
Yes, we started this project last year and finished it up early this year.
Nice, nice. So it's all recorded, ready to go. You just gotta do
Yep.
the correct release strategy and make sure everything's in play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. So as you're kind of in the middle of this release strategy of, singles and then the full project, what's kind of running through your mind right now since you've got a lot of time to kind of focus in on the release of this music?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just excited. I want to see how everybody reacts. I want to make sure that we get some really awesome content to, flood social media with. And I just want to make sure they're heard. I think this is probably, and I'm sure I'll say this on the next project, but this one is what I'm most passionate about right now. I think it's the most true sounding to who I am. And if you listen to the album front to back, it kind of tells my story. In 2020, I lost my mom, and at the same time, I had to end an engagement. And it was rough. Everybody had a rough year in 2020, and
Hmm.
I was blinded from COVID with everything that I was going through. And so these songs came from that place. They were all written in that time. And they helped me get through that and grow and find the love of my life. And see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope that people will listen to the album like that and they will get that same feeling.
Nice. Yeah, that's I definitely can relate to a lot of that. I lost my mom in 2021, so it's never easy. And then like all the leading up, during, and then afterwards, it's hard to deal with. But I feel like we all came out stronger at the end of it, and yeah, I so 100% relate to that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, but so you said you're kind of on a break right now as far as playing shows, or you as far as like out touring. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on a break from the road. However, we have tons of shows here in Nashville, kind of just getting things ready to get back on the road once the album's released and really promote that.
Nice. So you're gonna go back out on the road in October when it's probably
Well, I don't know if we'll
getting
be
ready to.
out in October.
Okay.
It'll probably come next year,
Fair.
since we find a lull with the holidays and things like
Yeah.
that. So,
Fair.
uh,
I had a buddy that asked me. He was like, "Hey, I'm going out on tour in December. You want to come with me?" And I'm like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going." And he named like all these super northern states, and I'm like,
oh no.
"You are high, sir.
Yeah,
Please
no
stop."
thank you.
It's like I
Yeah,
grew up in Chicago. I know what happens in December. So
yeah, yeah.
just because I live in Texas now doesn't mean I don't know what goes on.
Yeah,
So,
nice.
um, but no, that's cool. And as far as outside of music, obviously you've got a lot going on. You've got the release of two more singles, and then the full project, and then obviously all the shows and whatnot. What are you kind of doing outside of music right now, just to kind of decompress and all that stuff?
Well, my boyfriend and I just bought a house,
Nice.
so we are settling in here, which has been great. It's been nice having a slower summer. It's allowed me to get more settled, especially with moving. And I love decorating. That was my mother and it is
Yeah.
me. So it's been fun to take my time and decorate this house to make it feel like ours.
Nice, nice. I see is that a record player over your shoulder there?
It is, yes. We have
Nice,
a full, and on this wall, there's like, it's all records on the wall.
nice,
I guess I
nice.
should, well, it would have been hard to do.
Yeah.
Uh, my dog takes over the domain of the couch.
Oh, fair.
So can't really sit on that.
Oh, fair, fair. Well, every time I go to my sister's house and I try and do a podcast, it's like she's got two Great Danes and they're
Oh,
just like sitting right there. And it's like, okay, no, I'm not doing this. It's not going to happen.
yeah.
Like I tried to schedule a podcast once and I was like testing out to see what the internet was going to do. And both her dogs, like one dog was sitting like right here, the other one was sitting right here. And it's like, you guys are going to sit there the entire time, aren't you?
Oh,
So
yeah. Well, we lucked out that mine didn't make any noise. There was someone at the door earlier, but he didn't see it.
fair.
So,
Somebody knocked at my on my door, and I was just like, I'm not gonna interrupt this thing. I'm gonna like, we're here.
yeah.
So no, that's cool. Have you had time to kind of enjoy, jump into like old passions since you're kind of on a slower summer right now, like going hiking? Like it seems like being outdoors is a very musician thing to do right now.
Yeah, yeah, no, I was raised on a lake.
Mhm.
And so I love the water and I've had a lot of time to go and do that. My parents are in the process of moving to Idaho, so we've
Mhm.
gotten to go and visit them and spend time at their new lake house. So it's been really good.
Nice. That's cool. That's really cool. Idaho's a interesting state. It's
Yeah, it's
I've
very random. People
yeah.
would not think, but let me tell you, it is absolutely gorgeous.
Nice. We did a trip, like a trip in 2019, and we went up to Montana. And I was coming from New Mexico. We went up to Montana, and we had to drive through Idaho, and we drove past the Museum of Potatoes or the Hall of
Yeah,
Fame, so something to do with potatoes. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, they're really about that out here. Okay,
Oh,
that's funny.
yeah. That's mostly all their farming is potatoes.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. So if anybody wants to check out your music or any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, Ashley Barron official, and then I'm on all your streaming platforms with just Ashley Barron.
Nice. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I absolutely appreciate your time. And next time I'm out in Nashville, hopefully I can catch one of your shows. Or if you swing down into Texas, I don't know. Do you come to Texas at all?
It's been a while, but I love Texas. I've got family there. My best friend lives there, so I'm definitely wanting to come back.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, hopefully next time you're in Texas, I'll be able to catch a show. It seems to be there's only like three places most people come when they come through Texas. So I live in between all three of them.
Oh,
It works.
very perfect.
Um, but once again, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.